Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We have a 3v4 for you guys today. It was all done in-house, so my team and the enemy team were all on our Discord in two separate voice channels, and I'm teaming up with Quicksilver and Real Puneta Hours. And what makes today a little bit special is we have Quicksilver back with us for the recording, able to offer his advice, able to offer his comments, particularly about things like the deployment, things like what happens when I get stymied up here in Bravo later on. So, Quick, you want to say hello?
Hello, once again, happy to be here.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the deployment shenaniganry going on in Kilo, because that's, I think, where both of us are starting off.
Right, so I am playing Commonwealth Moto, I believe. Moto. I always swap between the two, I can never remember which one I'm playing at the time.
That's Moto and Mech?
Yeah, Moto and Mech. Because you can do a Moto opener in the Mech deck, very interesting. So I've got just your standard infantry supported by Vickers, Rover Wombats as always. You'll always see me use no great unit as slabs. And I've got a lot of AA because I'm expecting a helo drop on Echo. So I've got double
Tell me a
Storm
bit more about that. Tell me sort of what your intention is, right? Because it's all well and good to show a whole column of units, but unless you know what you're intending to do with it, it's sort of like a big missing context label.
Yeah, so I kind of want to shock and awe. I want to get into Echo, possibly Delta, and just set up a defensive line before they even get there. I want to take them by surprise, and that way we can focus holding off the mid sections, giving us a 1 to 2 point tick over them.
Isn't that hard to do? Because you have this whole stretch of road between us and Echo, and then they just have this short little clip right from Foxtrot. You'd think they can at least get into Delta and the backside of Echo before we can get up there.
Most usually they can. I'm kind of banking on the enemy not having too many motorized units. And I've got my motorized units, I'm hoping beats them out. I've got a couple of Commando 90s and Highlanders 90 as well to support my vehicles as fire support.
Gotcha. And the Vickers Mark 11s are truly just brutal vehicles. I mean, I'm always surprised when I see their armor piercing. It's what, 17?
17 AP, yeah.
Gotcha. Sorry guys for the long deployment. We'll get into it here in just a second. As I think Puneta was over here on his own. He actually brought in 3 Kiyomaru Shikis all at once, which was kind of crazy. But you need that sort of punch in hotel. And keep in mind, you know, there's 3 of us, there's 4 of them. We have individually more income and more points to spend. But they have better micro, so we have to sort of make up for that with brute force. And I think that's another part of what you and I were both hoping to capitalize on here that made the Echo push a bit more, I don't know, likely, I almost want to say. It's a little strange. So
it it definitely causes newer players or unexpected players to react and put more of their attention over an Echo, leaving more less focus on the other 2 points. So
gotcha. So this Delta CP right here, why are you going up to Mike instead of doing something like November? Was this just a miscommunication on our end, or?
Yeah, miscommunication on our end. They start with 4 CVs, so they're gonna obviously capture both. I think actually I noticed this now and then moved my CV over, but I really should have spawned it over on the other side.
It happens. I was in love with this Ruvalk opener, though. It seemed like the South African version of like the longbow opener type deal, and then the AA started coming in, and I was just full of sadness, because there it goes. Big explosion, 120 point dead helicopter, but you're having a bit more luck, so MI4A spam, don't see that every day. Soviet helicopters, S5Ms, and your Wolverines are making quick work of them, so I don't usually see them triple stacked. Is that sort of your usual modus operandi?
I normally double stack them, but I thought I had the extra points, you know, being a 3v4, I might as well triple stack them.
And this is all going right through. Look at that, the Rovers getting their guns online, the Vickers, just volume of fire right down this corridor. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So 7x4s were able to stun and shake up a few of my units, so the accuracy is something to be desired, but I got my infantry into the forest, which is what I want.
Gotcha. So I wanted to ask your advice on this, by the way, because I know we were sort of chatting in-game at the time, but I got up here and I had 2 Ruakat 76s, I had some Bocop 90, Rantel 20s.
Support?
Well, But support how, right? Because as soon as I get established here, an Mi-28 comes over, and that's going to wreck me with rocket pods the second I get out of the woods. And I got a little bit scared, to be honest. I was sitting there going, what am I supposed to do? There's a T-72BU here, there's a K-52, an Mi-28. I didn't really know how to go about it, so I'm trying to rush the Mi-28 with rental 20s, but it was, I don't know, it was a bit touch and go. So I got up there.
Yeah, getting up there is good. Holding it's another thing entirely. I've been talking to you about this recently, but the SASF, if you're gonna put them somewhere, you might as well take the 90 variant, because the 90s would have made short work of that Mi-28.
Yeah, better accuracy, better HE power on the tertiary, so
better range as well.
Yeah, they probably would have been able to shoot. I mean, we can even shoot with the SASF here.
I think you're still gonna kill it anyway.
Well, and that's the only argument in favor of the SASF, right? They're a little bit cheaper. Most helicopters that get that close.
2 missiles.
That's true.
4 missiles to kill one helicopter.
But the sheer math of it, 130-point kill.
Killed in 1 to 2 missiles, depending if it crits or not.
Gotcha. So over on the right-hand side, just to show this a little bit, Pugnetta and Core are here, but what was interesting about this game is there was such a large push into Echo that I think Komandussi on this side had meant to support in Hotel, and he actually pulled 3 T-80Us over to support in Echo instead, because lots of Crippling's forces were taken out. So that made a 2v1 situation in Hotel become a 1v1 where our side had more points, and you can see 2 retreating Modernas here, which is never ever what they want to be going up against, especially with 2 relatively calm Kyumarashikis on this side. And I think it was sort of an unexpected tactic, and I dare say the Echo push won us the game in this pretty quickly. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely wasn't actually expecting Old Mate to divert his attention over to Echo. The 3 T-80s were a bit difficult to deal with, but like he can't really do much to my infantry in the forest. And
it's such a huge investment too. That's 450 points, right? So that's not exactly cheap. And if they were over here right now working with 2 Modernas, I get the feeling that these Kyumarashikis would be having a bit of a bad day. So
that's it. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Oof. Nice Hawk Pips. So I don't know. It's sort of one of the things where like it's good to see the teamwork, but on the other hand, this is a time where the teamwork might have caused more harm than good. Nice kill off the AK-141 though, and I do have to say,
see surprisingly making it out there. I thought it was going to lose it then.
How? He was down to 2 strength when he was all the way back here on the right. I'm a little surprised by that myself. Cheetah C. Anyway, one thing I do want to say is that Jaeger 90 Enjoyer definitely was making my life difficult over here. So my Bocop are getting absolutely ground through. SASF are now out of Strelas, as you predicted, and the only thing I have really left over here with any punch are a couple of Bocop 90 and then the 2 Ruokat 76s that really can't fight against helicopters, so I almost feel like I brought the wrong tools for the job in that opener. I don't know if that's harsh or not, or if it's just overwhelmed by numbers, right? Because BTRDs carrying cheap Monostrelki are gonna just take out my Bocop. So, yeah. I don't know, it was an interesting sort of fight. And the Ruokat's doing well, so it wasn't all lost.
Yeah, what you really lacked in that forest was anti-infantry fire support. So a couple of I forget which one's the South African, but the Rucoula's rifle jeeps, SAF 90 nice. instead of just the regulars would have gone a long way.
This is a really sad F-111C. I'm just gonna say he's seen better days.
He has seen better days.
So cheap fire support. Rucoula's rifle jeeps are one of those things where like I never know how many to take, because if I take 1 or 2, they don't give me enough punch. If I take 6, I kind of feel ridiculous. But I don't know. Is that worth it?
You gotta look at the points. It's all about the points, like how much are you investing to kill and versus what it kills. So I like to 2-stack them or even 3-stack them, because 30 points can easily delete an infantry unit and its transport.
Those Wolverines just killed that plane.
Be alive. They sure did.
Oh man, that has to feel bad. I mean, it was what, a Delphin or something similar. So it's not exactly heavy. And then this is something too. So my Ruokat, I eventually got so fed up with just leaving it there that he's just going on a trip, you know, making his sweet merry way through the backfield, and there wasn't any scouting over here. This is something that I've had happen to me before on this map as well. If we start to lose in the center, in Delta rather, people just thread right through here. They'll get infantry into the woods, they'll get something over on this side. That's usually sort of the death knell of an entire game, if you start losing the hold on Delta, at least in my opinion.
And that's another good point to reiterate is even if it's just a couple of militia units, put a couple of like 5-point militia units around your base and around your CV, and it will stop a lot of heartache in a lot of games. Yeah,
he's just going, and you know, you can usually guess it's probably somewhere toward the back. Most people put it back there, at least. It's a good place to start looking. So that's all I was doing, is I just beelined to the back, and he got vision, got the kill. Probably wouldn't have spotted infantry as easily there either, so that might have been I usually put infantry in my bases now for that exact reason. SASF
infantry and bases is good because you can jump between buildings and buildings and really delay their death.
Gotcha. So this is actually another reason I really like SASF. We just got a kill on a transport with that LRAC F1, and that was a wall fighting against infantry. And they'll get overwhelmed by 3 VDV 90, but honestly, they were killing Motostrelki. They're still putting a decent hurt on the VDV. If I had supported them better here, that would have been a pretty worthwhile engagement. So
yeah,
I know you're right. It's just going to take me a couple more games to come around to doing it properly.
Yeah.
So
you really got to use them like you do SAS. You know, you sprinkle them in with your troops. They should never really ever be your frontline troops.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So Rukat 76 versus BMPT, the age-old, not entirely a question at all because my armor's way too paper thin for that fight.
Yeah.
Rough.
If you got a good crit on him, maybe, but yeah.
I mean, the rate of fire is not exceptional on those guys either. So Bocop 90, then getting the side shot on a BMPT just sort of was the icing on the cake for irony, right? Because you'd think a tank is the unit that's meant to take out a BMPT, and mine gets smacked. And then the infantry the BMPT is designed to kill get the one-shot kill on it. It was kind of goofy.
Missing 3 rockets on a Bison, only to hit the 4th.
Yeah,
love to see it.
Well,
Commando 90 is coming in to support you up on that hill as well.
Yeah, and this was interesting. So I sort of had to scramble for India because I was getting pushed through by Yakuni 90 Enjoyer. I fought over these woods for a while. That's why they're so flattened. A bunch of Canberra runs. But I don't know, it was something where I wasn't able to support this side, so now that you've locked down at least this side of Echo and Delta, it seemed to me that this was a logical extension, because you already have to keep these woods secure, and you're reinforcing things right up into there, and that let me kind of refocus more on what was going on this side. So I unfortunately lose some planes. We lost vision on those guys right before I was able to kill that T-72, and this was not exactly my cleanest game, so...
No, we all make mistakes, and it's easy to look back on it to see what went wrong. But you held the front lines, and that's sometimes all you need to do.
Yeah, so that's part of why. Like, I know a lot of. I think there's a couple different channels that do mostly 1v1s, and you know, Blitz is amazing at ranked and 1v1s and everything like that. And I have nowhere near a skill for this, but I really enjoy the team games because they're so different, right? Like, you're doing really well here. I was kind of struggling, but another part of the reason why I was struggling is I was trying to do a lot of unconventional things. I was bringing in support planes that were not used well, but the idea was complement what's already going well. In a 1v1, you never have that sort of attitude to some units that you're not controlling yourself. So it makes for gameplay you don't always see, and I find that very much a fun thing. TADU here, is that your target with the Hornet?
No, it was actually the OSA AKMs. Get rid of the AA, and then I can come in with helicopter.
Very nice. That PU in the background there has been doing us dirty the whole game, though.
It has been, but I have done a very good job at locking down Echo and Bravo of AA, because I've got the 2 Wolverines and the 2 Stormers there.
Right, so they can fend us off.
Flies, yeah.
Okay. Stormers, by the way, a little closer than I thought they'd be, and that's actually risking some return fire.
Yeah, so I was using them for a bit there to kill the infantry transports coming in, because they have that 14 AP and really fast missiles. Once they saw the T-80Bs come in, I decided to pull them back. Let my
I actually left these guys. I left my stuff there on purpose because I knew I knew that the vehicles would get smacked by the T-80B, I also knew they get targeted preferentially, and they weren't the right tool to handle these guys, so I figured, why not let the wrong tool get shot? Because, you know, it slows things down, right? So
cannon fodder, if you will.
yeah, right, and it hurts to do that with 15-point vehicles instead of 5-point vehicles, but you gotta do what you gotta do. This was just idiotic. I got my Cheetah CN, and I thought to myself, okay, this is good, there's only one of them. Then I got vision on all 4 and chickened out and lost the plane anyway.
Look at their air power. There's probably another reason they're not doing too well. That is like nearly 1,000 points worth of planes right there.
Yeah, I mean,
and
there
that's
was,
not
what,
even including
2
the ones we shot
PUs?
down. 2 PUs, 2 141s, and I'm pretty sure there's a third PU that wasn't brought out then.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it's easy to think. So I actually had this conversation with a Patreon supporter the other day. He was telling me, you know, he always brings out helicopters, he never knows what to do with them, and they're just an expensive point sink. For me, it was always planes. So I guess it takes a while to realize you need stuff on the ground, more than in the air sometimes.
Yeah.
What was your crutch, if you don't mind me asking? Sorry, I'm railroading you.
My crutch is normally helicopters. You've seen it a few times in a couple of the replays that we've watched, but I try not to. I like to go for recon infantry and ATGM teams or some sort of infantry combo.
Gotcha.
But sometimes a helicopter is a correct call. I'm bringing up an AH-7 TOW too because I killed all of the AA, I believe. I think there might be a man pad around, but if I just sit
it's hard to screen for those.
Yeah. Especially when you don't have any cheap helicopters. So bring that in to deal with all the heavier vehicles that my infantry can't deal with because there's column of motor. You don't get the best ATGM.
Yeah, and that T-80B immediately retreated too, so it's also just screening out our opponents because nobody wants to lose a 150-point tank to a TOW 2 helicopter.
Exactly.
That just feels rough. So a lot of area sort of offense off of a helicopter, and in order to keep mine alive, I've had to sort of switch to thinking about them as defensive responses more than offensive. But this is how it's done. I'd say that's impressive.
All 8 missiles fired off. Didn't kill the BRT, but I think that just damaged both of them. Yes.
Beautiful.
Down.
Beautiful. Splash damage.
I think actually I'm actually moving my Stormers up to finish off the BTRTs.
God. Yeah, no luck on that, but that's just how it happens sometimes. Even the best missiles, and these are damn good missiles. Sometimes
you get a lot of them too.
Yes. Yeah. So, oh, you'll be happy to know, by the way, I've changed my South Africa deck a little bit. I have now cheap 10-point Milan teams in the Ratel 60 mortars, and they've already proven reasonably effective. So, you told me to bring the Ratel 60s. I'm bringing the Ratel 60s. So,
I'm glad to hear that. Also, 10-point Milan teams, people underestimate them, but you know, if you can buy 3 of them to one normal ATGM price and sprinkle them around, one of them's going to get a side shot eventually.
Yeah, and so my thinking there was bring out 3 or 4 at once, and then the ATGMs, Milan ones, will eventually hit something probably. And then I also just get cheap mortars up there for not very much cost. This made me very happy. So double Valkyrie is not really the answer to Tungushkas, but we spotted the Tungushka. This is going to stun it. That means those guns are offline just for a little bit. And you can also get some lucky damage in. Valkyries are really not the best, so you're not seeing that now. But never be afraid to just fire some HE rockets at things. Particularly, I mean, we're relatively late in the game, 453 points to 74, and my fob was pretty full. So there's no sense having them here because I already bought them for other support reasons, and then just not firing them, right? You may as well get some fire downfield.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen people a lot of times when they get panicked on the front line, they'll be microing stuff up here so intently that they'll have 400 points sitting back here in artillery. I mean, never forget your fob is a 75-point investment at the start. If you're not going to use it, don't bring one. So you have to count that as well.
There's quite a few decks where I just won't bring a fob because it doesn't have any good artillery in it. I'd rather just buy the supply vehicles. I normally bring a fob for Commonwealth just because it has the AH-7s
Gotcha.
helicopters,
Gotcha.
and I
Let's
like to
resupply those.
Yeah.
Alright, well, kills and losses for this game were 51-55 to 45-60, relatively close, but you know, you don't always need the biggest difference in kills to have a big difference in where you're playing on the field. I went very negative because my opener kind of got wrecked over time, and Quicksilver definitely showed that that aggression in the midfield can be worth its weight in gold. So, Quicksilver, I just want to say thanks for coming on again. It's always a pleasure to have you on here. And maybe next time we'll take a look at maybe other games we're on a team, or if you have some ranked games and want to show off a little bit.